I fell in love after moving to Italy and my entire perception on life changed. There's motorcycles outside. From as long ago as I can remember, I never pictured myself in a relationship. I never pictured myself getting married. I never pictured myself like fully committed with somebody. And that's not to say I'm not a committed person. My whole life I've been the type of person who's only dated for relationships. I've never been the hookup type. I actually hate hookups. I usually feel like shit after hookups, so I don't engage in them that much. But I really was blindsided after everything that has happened over these past couple of years. I've lived in Italy for I'm going on year 3, so that's insane. That will be a whole other story if you want to hear. But upon arriving to Italy, I kind of had this perception in my head of me coming here to study my master's degree in collection design, fashion design, and move on from there. I just wanted to do that. I wanted to come here, finish my master's program, get a job as a designer, and then live my life as a fashion designer in Europe. That was like my whole plan. I don't want to talk too much about my ex as a person. I kind of want to just talk about the morality of the story and the situation out of respect for him and his growth. And I think at this point, I've reached a maturity level from the relationship and the breakup where I understand that peace is the most important. And I kind of just want to talk about this for other people who might be going through the same thing or might also go through the same thing. We met very close to the start of when I arrived to Italy. And we started off as friends. We were very close friends. And mind you, I've never been the type that's had guy friends in my life. I didn't have a guy friend growing up. I mean, my guy friends stopped at age like 10. I had guy friends when I was like very young, but it was like before puberty. It was before I was out as gay. It was after that, it was just girls in my life. I just remember the first time I saw him, I was so curious about him. I was curious about the type of person he was, and he was Italian, and I was fascinated by that because I was surrounded by people who were not Italian. I mean, my master's program I was studying was also filled with people who were from all over. They were not necessarily like Italians. So being able to know him was an incredible thing. It really opened me up to the Italian lifestyle, like Italian appreciation. It really just like showed me how an Italian lives, and he taught me a lot too. We got to the point in the friendship where he started cooking for me. He would clean for me. He would do things for me that were so meaningful because I've never been the, oh my God, I'm like, no. I've never been the type of person that's like good at taking care of like my surroundings. Like I'll do it, like I'll keep things clean as they need to be, but I'm not like obsessive, and I don't know. I'm not, what's the word? I don't enjoy cleaning. I don't enjoy cooking. I don't enjoy doing those things. I guess I only enjoy just being creative. But at the end of the day, he was very structured and he taught me a lot. And I wasn't even attracted to him, you know? I was just so blessed to have a friendship that I had never had before. This magical friendship that I didn't even know was possible. So we continued being like the best of friends. I remember we would go out in Italy and we would tour like Siena, and I would like grab his hand and I would be like you're my boyfriend. Like I would make jokes, but it was like as a friend, you know. It was like the best friendship I've had in so long. And I think that's what hurts the most. It's that like out of everything, I've lost like this friendship that was so important to me. So we continue along, and it wasn't too far into my time here. I arrived here the middle of January of 2022. It was around like March, like maybe the beginning of March, where I had a dream about him. I had a dream that we kissed. And I am the type of person where like the second I dream about you, like it's over. Like the second I have a dream about you, it's like I want you. And I don't dream about many people in this way. I never have. I've had a couple other relationships in the past, but I had never been in love before. So this was the first time I had a dream like this, and I was like, wait a second, you know, I was taken aback. So I remember calling my friends from home and telling them that I had a dream about him and that I thought that I like really liked him. And I was so excited. It was that feeling of like butterflies in your stomach that you have never felt before, because You know, I was 23 when I first developed like these feelings for him, and I just turned 25, so it's crazy how much like time has passed. But I was 23 and I was just so excited because I was like at this point in my life where I had never experienced this before, and it was with someone who I was like so close with. We were best friends. Like I told him all the time, like, you are my best friend. So there was one night where I went over to his apartment, and I was going over to his apartment a lot. It was more so I would go to his apartment than he would come to mine. He often would comment about how he didn't like my apartment. Yeah, but so I continued to go to his apartment. And there was one night where we were sitting on the couch, and this was after a couple weeks of me telling him, like, hey, listen, like, I like you, you know? And he was telling me, like, I don't think I'm in the same situation. Like, I think I just want to be friends. Like, I just don't feel that way. And it was really hard for me to accept that because I don't love anyone. Like, I don't love anyone to that point. It's very, very, very hard for me to love someone in that way, to, like, have that much feeling for someone. And I guess before I tell you what happened when we were on the couch at his apartment, I should say, a few months prior, I went to a psychic in Manhattan. She's my tarot reader that I love. I've gone to her many times. And she told me, if you move to Italy, you are going to fall in love, but it's going to fall apart and it's going to end, but you're going to fall in love and you're going to meet someone. And I remember just thinking at that time I didn't believe her, because I was in a period of my life where I just wasn't even open to love. I was so focused on work and school, and I was living the American fast-paced life where work and making money and all of that, it's the only thing that matters. And I was really just focused on all of that, and my mindset's changed 180 since moving here. So anyways, a couple months later, I was sitting on his couch in his apartment in Florence, and we would do this thing where we would like massage each other's like backs, like as we were watching like TV, but it was like a as a friendship sort of thing. But I knew deep down that it was something a little bit more. But I also did know that he was the type that didn't really show his feelings. He never talked about love. And when he would talk about it, he would talk about other guys and just hint at like how other guys were hot. And he would show me TikTok videos of other guys, and it was more like he was pushing me away on purpose. And that's something that I've done a lot in my past. Like, I will purposely make you not like me it's as like a test, you know? I don't do that anymore, but I used to. So I noticed that he was doing this to me, and I noticed the signs in myself from my past. So I was like, you know what? Okay, we need to like break this. So I saw it on the couch, and we ended up like, after like the little massages, we were laying down next to each other, right? And both of our heads kind of tilted, facing towards each other. And I just remember the feeling of like, it was like life or death, you know? It was like, I loved him at this point so much. And I think this was at the end of March of last year. But I loved him so much at this point. And so I kissed him. And I'm not the type of person that ever starts anything. Like, I'm usually the one that like waits and like you can incentivize something. But no, I kissed him and he pulled away, which I was shocked, but I was also like, you know, it's expected for him, his personality. And I was like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, did you just kiss me? And I was like, yeah. And it was just like, it's kind of a blur to me now. I think I was just in so much shock. But things felt very awkward after that. We sat up on the couch and I looked at him and I said, listen, I was like, I understand you, because I'm the type of person also that like doesn't want to engage in relationships in general. Like, I moved to Italy and I didn't expect anything to happen because I'm not at that point in my life. Like, I just am not open to dating. And I told him, like, I've never had a serious relationship. I've had relationships in the past, but never anything serious. And if there's something going on, you can tell me. But I really felt like he liked me back, you know? I really felt it. And we ended up having a conversation about how he was very reserved and he grew up in Italy. I mean, Italy is quite conservative, and he grew up around conservative values, and he was just, you know, feeling restricted in terms of himself. he was feeling very restricted about expressing himself and being able to really open himself up to love. So I told him, I said, you know, we only live once. Like, I moved to Italy and I never expected to move to Italy, you know? I moved to Italy to follow my passions of like design, and I never expected to like you. I never expected for any of these things to happen in my life, but sometimes you have to just accept it and move forward and see what happens and see where life takes you. And if you live in fear, nothing will happen. And we talked about like, what if we ruin the friendship, like all of that. And I told him, I said, but like the love that I feel for you is so strong. And if you also feel it for me, there's nothing to lose because we're acting on how we feel. And this is life, you know? Again, you can't live in fear. And I just remember he grabbed me and we just started like kissing, like making out. And it was the most like magical night of my life. I will forever remember that moment because it opened my heart up to love that I did not ever expect myself to have, you know? So after this, things were very off and on. And I've been rambling for a while, so I don't think I'll talk for too much longer, but, and out of respect for him, I don't want to like rehash how I felt when we were together in the relationship and how betrayed I felt and things like that. But I'll just say that he abandoned my trust. I couldn't trust him. And there was no label on who we were, but there was a label. Like we were exclusive. I wanted to be exclusive. And so he agreed and he was like, okay, we're exclusive. But then there was no exclusivity, if you know what I mean. So that was really, really hard for me. And throughout the course of the relationship, I lost friends of mine who were also friends with him. I lost myself. I started to get bad grades in school, like around the midterm. I started to have thoughts that I never thought I would have about ending my life. And this is so, it sounds so insane to think of the fact that like being in love can make you feel this way, but it's not that, you know? It's the fact that I came from America and my whole life I was working myself to death. I was working so hard and the only value I had in myself was work. And the only feeling of love I truly felt was when I was doing successful things in work and in school. And I would feel applauded for that from people around me. And that's how I felt love. So after coming here and feeling what real love feels like outside of this capitalistic society of like work equals the value of yourself, like after experiencing love for who I am and then having it crumble and realize that it wasn't real and that it was a facade, it destroyed me. And I just lost sight of so much. I lost sight of myself. I lost sight of my family. I lost contact with a lot of people. It was really, really bad. We off and on got back together, separated, got back together, separated. But throughout this whole period, unfortunately, I couldn't gain his trust. And even a year and a few months later, he wanted to get back with me again. And I said, we can try, right? And then I found out that my trust was still being abandoned. And that's when I just like couldn't accept it anymore. And I left, and it was so hard to leave because like I loved him so much. Of course, the storage on my phone went out. I have like a 500 gigabyte phone and the storage went out, but it's because all my TikTok videos are saved on my phone. Anyways, and I'm a live streamer on TikTok, so I have like hours of footage. Anyways, I fell in love with his mom so much, and that really, really broke me. I remember at the beginning of this year, because you have to remember, like our relationship, our friendship started in the beginning of 2022. It's now the end of 2023. So the beginning of this year, I was like sending his mom letters and writing really long letters to his mom back and forth. And she knew I loved him so much, and I had to put myself first, and she agreed. And I had to just accept it. And in my heart, like, at least I knew that she knew how much I loved him, and I was just very hopeful that in the future, if he ever like questioned how much I cared about him, that she would be able to bring it up to him, you know? And so that was kind of like the closure that I needed. I spent the next year or so, and I'm still on that year, exploring my life on my own and making new friends and learning to be by myself and learning to be comfortable in my own skin without somebody, but also open to love at the same time. And it's been a beautiful experience. I've met a few Italians who are so kind and great, but at the end of the day, I don't have any strong friendships here. I've kind of just been on my own. I decided to fall in love with something incredible, which is live streaming on TikTok. I didn't even know that I would love doing something like that, and it's become such an amazing source of happiness for me, so, and like an amazing pastime. And I've really just taken this year to kind of reflect and recharge, and I ended up graduating with a great grade in collection design. It was a miracle. I went to my psychic again, my tarot reader, and I asked her for advice. She gave me advice, and I finished strong. But the mental strength of going through that year, knowing that it was this like Italian romance fantasy that you kind of dream up in your head, and I had it, and then it was gone. And not at the fault of me. I'm sure I had faults in the relationship, you know, I'm sure, I know I did. I didn't communicate maybe as much as I should, even though I was communicating, maybe I didn't communicate in the right way. And I did become like obsessive. Like I was like checking everything all the time. I was like ruining my own mental health for someone that I knew wasn't mentally there, but were saying that they could be. And I think that's something that I definitely learned. So to conclude, I know this is much longer than I wanted it to be, but I've learned to not push anything. And I will never again like reach back out to an ex and try to rekindle something, because if they're not in it, if they're not in the right headspace, nothing can work. And I was very hurt by this relationship. But I also felt the strongest love that I've ever felt in my life in this relationship. So I'm so blessed for it. I loved him. And that is such a beautiful thing to be able to say, like, to be able to know that I've been able to experience that. And I think I even told him, like, you know, at the end of the day, if I died tomorrow, at least I got to feel what love feels like. And I have him to thank for that. And I sincerely hope he's doing well. I hope he's finding his path, and I hope he's meeting new people, new friends, new relationships, everything. Also for myself, so I can, you know, fully move on. I mean, I've moved on, but of course I still think of like the what ifs. But if someone isn't ready for you, the universe won't give them to you. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this. And if you're in a similar situation, I'm sorry, but you got to experience love, and that is something that is so valuable. You got to experience an ego death, you know, falling to the ground and rebuilding yourself back up, which is another thing that's so valuable. And if you were anything like me, you got to invest yourself back into spirituality. And that is something that's really saved me throughout this whole experience. So I'm very thankful for that as well. I don't have any subscribers on this channel, so I don't know how many people this will reach. But if it does reach any of you, anyone, I hope you enjoyed. And subscribe, follow for more. I will be on TikTok live streaming probably sometime soon. I had the flu for 2 weeks, and then I've been like massively applying to jobs for the last 2 weeks. So I took like a month break off. But yeah, I have a few other topics that I want to talk about, so I'll probably post them soon. In the meantime, ask me questions and I'll answer them in the comments. And I wish you all the best of luck on yourself, your relationships, and your health. See you soon.